Hi guys, my main contention of taking out these videos are not to derive those formulae, but to make you aware about those formulae which are very significant for JEE, NEET, CET and other competitive tests. Alright, so please focus into those formulae, understand those formulae well, and then apply those formulae for numericals. Alright, so I hope all this series that I've taken out naming JEE and NEET helps you in understanding those formulae well and apply it for numericals, which I would do little later. Alright, so all the best and understand well. Okay, in this video would be presenting some JEE NEET significant formulae from chapter gravitation. Alright, to begin with, let's try and understand formula for gravity at depth. This is the graph that has been frequently asked in JEE. Now this is the radius of Earth, and when we go from here this side, this corresponds to linear fall in gravity with depth. Alright, and the formula is GD is equal to 1 minus d upon r, where d is depth and r is radius of Earth, and GD is the gravity that is experienced at that depth. Alright, now when we move above in altitude, in height, the formula is GH, that is gravity at that particular height, 1 minus 2h upon r, where r is radius of Earth and h is height at which the object is. Alright, so this is the curve. Please keep this in mind because this has been asked quite some times in JEE. Now, so this is the surface of Earth, radius of Earth, and this is the depth and this is the altitude. In either case, we find that the gravity keeps on decreasing. This is G, y-axis is gravity. So gravity keeps on decreasing with depth and it keeps on decreasing also with height. The difference that we observe over here is this goes down linearly, whereas this goes curvaceously. Alright, so this graph is done. Now what about latitude, variation of G with latitude? Now the formula for getting G is G prime, that's the actual G, is equal to G minus r omega square cos square theta. Omega is angular velocity, which we know is 2 pi by t. R is radius of Earth, which we know is 6400 kilometers, and theta. So basically this is constant, this is constant, this also is a constant. So variable is this theta. Theta is variable. So let's understand what happens at pole and what happens at equator. At equator, theta is 0. Theta is 0. So the formula is G minus r omega square cos square 0. We know cos square 0 is 1. So G minus r omega square. So, and r omega square is G minus r omega square, and r omega square value is 0.03386 meter per second square. Now why this value is constant? Why? Because r is constant and omega is constant. Omega is 2 pi by t. T is over here 24 into 3600 is a time period, that is 1 day. 24 hours is the time of rotation of Earth. So 24 hours, which has to be converted into seconds. So 24 into 3600, 16 to 60. So here now it's 24 into 3600, and in numerator we have 2 into 3.14, and R we know is 6.4 into 10 raised to 6 meters. Alright, so that's what is G prime, or the actual gravity at equator. So at equator, gravity that we experience is lesser than g by r omega square, or by 0.034 meter per second square if we round it off then. Whereas when we go to pole, theta is 90, so it is g prime is equal to g minus r omega square cos square 90. Cos 90 is 0, so g prime is g. So at pole, g prime is g, whereas at equator, g prime is lesser than g. Alright, so weight mg would be less at equator rather than at pole. Alright, let's understand something interesting about lift. Now, prior to understanding lift, let's understand relationship between normal and mg. Whenever a body is on surface, that itself means normal and mg are in equilibrium. Alright, n is equal to mg. But if the body is flying, that itself means n is equal to 0. N is much lesser than mg. Alright. Now, for example, see whenever our vehicle is passing over speed breaker at great speed, we find that the vehicle flies in air for a few seconds. Now, at that state, what is the situation? At that state, normal is 0, owing to which the vehicle flies. Alright, now let's come to lift. Now, suppose this is the lift which is moving down with acceleration. This is the lift which is moving up with acceleration. And this is the lift which either goes up or moves down with uniform velocity. Obviously, that itself means acceleration is 0. So whenever we are moving down along with lift, we feel light. Whenever we are moving up with lift, we feel heavy. We feel the floor. Alright, we feel floor heavy. Now, keeping this in mind, so what does that? Now, when we are moving down, at that time we feel light. So we feel light. Why? Because normal is lesser than mg. But the lift is moving down, so there is positive force acting, which is equal to ma. So if we want to find an equation for force, it would be F is equal to mg minus normal. Mg minus normal, why? Because mg is greater, minus normal. Or rather, our equation would be ma acceleration downwards is equal to mg minus n. At the same time, now if we pick up this example, acceleration with acceleration, left moving up. Now we feel the floor more while we are moving up along with the lift. Why? Because normal is greater than mg. Alright, so normal is greater than mg. That's why we feel heavy. So now the equation would be n minus mg, because n is superior. So F is equal to n minus mg. Since lift is moving upwards, so acceleration upwards. So ma upwards is equal to n minus mg, because n is superior to mg right now in this situation. Alright, so now what happens when the lift, assume that lift is moving up with uniform velocity. When we say uniform velocity, we know the equation for velocity, we know the equation for accelerations v minus u upon t. But if v is equal to u, then u minus u upon t is 0. So acceleration is 0. So no matter whatever equation you take this equation, that is when is lift is going up or lift is going down with uniform velocity, then the acceleration is 0. So no matter whatever be the equation, it would be 0 here, it would be 0 here. So in either case, whenever lift is moving up with uniform velocity, moving down with uniform velocity, this part would be 0 because A is 0. So in any case, it would be N is equal to mg. So these are the equations. Now, mind you, all these equations that I gave right now are very sensible for JEE and NEET. So please, I cut it very short so that even during your exams, even during your competitive exams, you can just refer these videos. It would be very handy for you all. Okay. Study well. All the best.